Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a concept that you hear about all the time when discussing jobs and careers. Work-life balance.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
It really is, and it feels like this constant puzzle,
Mm.
figuring out how to manage work demands alongside everything else life throws at us.
Absolutely. It's something many people grapple with, how to make it all fit effectively.
Exactly. So for many of you listening, finding that effective way to manage work and, well, life is
Yeah,
probably a big question.
definitely.
So today we're going to really explore some common ideas floating around about work-life balance. We'll see how they stack up against some material we've looked at.
And hopefully offer a maybe more nuanced perspective on how work and life can actually coexist.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Our mission today is to unpack these beliefs, check their validity based on our sources, and, find a better way to think about integrating it all.
Right. And we've got two interesting sources to guide us. One talks about common myths and offers some, let's call them corrective truths. And the other one actually challenges the whole idea of work-life balance, calls it a fallacy even, and suggests integration is maybe a better aim.
Interesting. Okay, let's dive right into those myths then. The first one that really jumped out is this belief that, working really long hours is crucial if you want to advance your career.
Yes, the FaceTime argument.
Exactly. Like, new folks need to prove dedication with extra hours, and if you want that promotion, you've got to work longer and harder than everyone else.
It's definitely a perception that's stuck around. One of our sources mentions Jennifer Lacey's research for the New York Times job market.
Okay.
She surveyed about 300 job seekers in New York and found this general perception, as she called it, that, long hours matter for getting ahead.
Does it really work out that way? What are the downsides?
Well, that's the crucial question, isn't it? On the surface, maybe it seems logical. More time equals more output equals brownie points. But the material quickly points out the harm. For employees, it means less personal or family time, maybe drifting towards workaholism, definitely more stress.
That makes sense. The personal cost.
Huge personal cost. And it's not just individuals. The sources argue this culture can actually hurt companies too. Think higher turnover.
Oh, okay. So people get stressed and leave.
Seems like it. Lacey's study found, I think it was, 75% felt workplace stress influenced their job search. 75%.
Wow, that's significant. So companies pushing long hours might actually be shooting themselves in the foot.
Kind of looks that way, doesn't it? Even pay and promotion policies, if they reward sheer hours over, say, efficiency or results, can undermine the whole idea of balance.
Yeah, the system itself works against it, even if unintentionally.
Exactly. Which kind of leads us into the second myth. The idea that, only huge companies can offer real work-life balance options.
Right. You think of Google or places with amazing campuses and perks.
The bells and whistles. But the source argues that's a myth, too. Not every place can be Google, obviously.
Sure.
But any organization, regardless of size, can encourage equilibrium. It doesn't have to mean a massive budget.
Okay, so how can smaller or mid-sized companies do that then? What are the practical options?
Well, the emphasis is on creativity and just genuine consideration. Things like sponsoring employee or family events.
Nice, building community.
Yeah, or offering flexible work schedules where it's possible. That's a big one.
Flexibility is key.
And having managers actually model balance, that came up as really important.
Oh, that's huge. If the boss leaves on time and talks about their hobbies, it sends a message.
Exactly. It shows it's okay, even encouraged, to have a life outside work. Other ideas were things like partnerships for staff discounts, gyms, maybe recreational stuff.
Smart. Leveraging local connections.
Or providing health and wellness gadgets, maybe exploring on-site dependent care if feasible. It's about being thoughtful and resourceful, not just throwing money around.
It really shifts the focus to valuing the whole person, not just the worker bee.
Precisely. It's about the company culture demonstrating that value.
Okay, myth number 3. This one's tempting. The idea that time management is the silver bullet. Just manage your time perfectly and balance will follow.
Ah, the lure of the perfectly organized calendar.
Right. The source mentions the old 8-8-8 model. 8 work, 8 sleep, 8 life. Sounds neat, but...
But life isn't that neat, is it? The source points out how impractical these rigid models are today. Plus, our modern approach often just becomes about checking off tasks.
like a to-do list hamster wheel.
Exactly. It's quantity over quality, maybe. Ticking boxes rather than focusing on what matters, which can be draining in itself.
So just getting better at scheduling isn't the answer. What's the corrective truth here?
It's less about minute-by-minute scheduling and more about prioritization, identifying what's truly crucial.
At work and at home?
Both. Recognizing deadlines, yes, but also understanding your own values. What really needs your energy and attention right now? The goal is finding that sweet spot of productivity, as the source calls it.
By managing energy and attention, not just time. I like that.
It feels more adaptable.
Okay, myth 4 touches on something we're all swimming in. Technology. The promise was that tech would free us up, give us more leisure time.
Huh. Yeah, remember that promise. The reality feels a bit different for many of us.
Definitely. The source points out that constant connectivity, smartphones, laptops often means we just work more hours. The lines get completely blurred.
We're always potentially on.
So the answer isn't necessarily ditching the tech, which is unrealistic.
No, probably not.
It's more about setting boundaries.
Exactly. Clear expectations for yourself, for your colleagues, your boss. When are you available and when are you not?
And then actually sticking to them.
That's the hard part, but crucial. The example given is simple. Turning off phones at the dinner table, intentionally unplugging.
Creating tech-free zones or times. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, the final myth, number 5. This is a big cultural one. Corporate success equals happiness.
The classic American dream narrative, right? Climb the ladder, make money, achieve happiness.
Yeah, but the source challenges this directly. It brings up research showing happiness is more linked to self-actualization, discovering your true self.
Finding meaning and purpose beyond just the job title or paycheck. It mentions Maslow.
Right, so people who are satisfied often find pride in their work, yes, but they also prioritize relationships, outside interests, passions.
It's a more holistic view of a fulfilling life, not just professional success in isolation.
Okay, so we've busted some common myths.
Yeah.
But now our sources pivot to something even more fundamental.
Yeah, the second source really questions the whole concept. It argues work-life balance itself might be, well, a flawed idea, a myth even.
A myth that leads to dissatisfaction. How so?
Well, it traces the term back to the 1980s, which, was an important time for advocating better conditions, especially as more women entered the workforce.
Crucial progress, absolutely.
No doubt. But the source suggests the term balance implies this kind of binary, work versus life, like they're opposing forces on a scale that need to be perfectly even.
A seesaw, yeah. And what's wrong with that picture?
The problem is, life isn't really like that. Work and life are much more intertwined, fluid. They bleed into each other.
True.
And the source cites a pretty stark 2022 Gallup report, something like 60% of workers feeling emotionally detached, 19% miserable. Suggests striving for balance isn't working for a lot of people.
That's sobering. Yeah. So the framework itself might be part of the problem.
That's the argument. Because life is unpredictable, messy. You can't just neatly compartmentalize everything.
The example of Nicole really hit this home for me. Facing personal tragedies, toxic work environment. The idea of balance in that context is almost absurd.
Utterly absurd. What she needed wasn't perfect scheduling. It was support, empathy, understanding. Prioritizing balance over basic human needs just doesn't work.
And the stress of trying to achieve this perfect balance can backfire.
Seems so. The American Psychological Association research mentioned links the stress of juggling work and life to poorer mental health. The pressure itself becomes a burden.
Okay, so if balance is flawed, what's the alternative? This is where integration comes in.
Exactly. The source highlights Brittany Schulte's work in Overwhelmed. She argues for a more fluid, integrated approach.
Seeing work and life as interconnected parts of a whole, rather than separate buckets.
Precisely. Managing time and energy more holistically, Schulte found people who view their time this way more integrated actually report higher satisfaction.
So it's acknowledging that sometimes work needs more focus, other times personal life does, and that's okay. It ebbs and flows.
Yeah, it's a more dynamic view, less rigid, more about flow and prioritizing based on current needs.
Are there companies actually doing this? Moving beyond just flexible hours?
The source gives a couple of examples. Patagonia encouraging breaks, getting outdoors. SAS Institute known for really holistic health and wellness programs.
So it's about fostering overall well-being, not just managing schedules.
Right. It's a deeper commitment. Ariana Huffington's Thrive is also mentioned, her third metric idea.
Ah, yes. Well-being, wisdom, wonder, giving.
Integrating those into life, not balancing them against work. It broadens the whole definition of a successful life.
That really reframes things. It puts the responsibility on creating a supportive environment, doesn't it? Especially for leaders.
Absolutely. Leaders play a huge role in nurturing the whole person, providing support, building a culture where well-being isn't just a poster on the wall.
So it's a shift away from this possibly unattainable ideal of perfect balance.
Towards something more realistic, more human-centered, integration, adapting to life's demands in a sustainable way.
Okay, so bringing this deep dive toward a close, we've looked at these common beliefs, these myths about work-life balance, long hours, company size limits, time management, tech fixes, success equaling happiness.
And we've seen how they often don't quite hold up or have significant downsides.
Then we explored this challenging idea that maybe balance itself isn't the right goal.
Right, that the pursuit of that perfect equilibrium might actually be setting us up for frustration, and that integration offers a more, perhaps, sustainable and fulfilling path.
It really seems like focusing on how to weave work and life together, prioritizing our needs, and fostering support might be more beneficial than chasing that elusive, static balance. It feels more adaptable to the complexities of modern life. So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. Instead of constantly asking, am I achieving work-life balance?
Perhaps a more useful, more insightful question to reflect on is, am I integrating my work and my life in a way that truly supports my overall well-being and fulfillment?
It's definitely something to think about, a different lens through which to view how we structure our days and our lives.